So this issue of the mind of light, I think, has been too much stressed. Although Mr. Deshpande has spoken, written, in fact, excellently on the topic, clarifying the things. But I don't think Sri Aurobindo was unaware in 1926 about this issue of mind and light, mind of light. And then the mother asked him to write in 1949 about the mind of light, and he obliged. And talking of the supermind and overmind distinctions, we have to refer to Sri Aurobindo's poetry, his overhead aesthetics, on which K.D. Setna has written at length, explained. Why is poetry so important? Because Sri Aurobindo places poetry at the center of knowledge as the divine Agni of the Rig Veda, the purifying fire. And that is the importance of mantras and different kind of mantras and that have become very popular these days, thanks to a new kind of rising, sometimes in the wrong way. They have sprung up, but there is a return, and also the aspect of the Aryan civilization, which the leftist historians, they deny. Sri Aurobindo says, I can't speak of the date of the composition of these verses. They are dateless, maybe 10,000, 12,000 years ago. And recently, maybe 5 or 6 years back, NASA has taken a picture of a broken bridge linking Sri Lanka and India, Rameswaram. So and they have measured the time, 7,000 years back the bridge was built. And Sri Aurobindo says you can't say when these rishis spoke of the fire symbolism. So fire is extremely important, and it comes in the poetry of Tagore again and again, because both Tagore and Sri Aurobindo have the same sources, the Rig Veda. And the fire comes from there, the immortal fire, of which Sri Aurobindo speaks again and again in his poetry, sometimes flame, sometimes fire, sometimes with brightness. And the fire comes again and again. Aguner porosh muni chumao prane e jibon punno koro. So this is what Tagore says. And so when you speak of a transformation of consciousness or an evolution from man to the next species, they speak of an intermediary. And I think that is a bit too much stressed, because that is too natural. Sri Aurobindo only clarified in 1949 that, well, some people will come with. Some can see, in Savitri he says, some can have a glimpse and some can have a feeling. And he has given enough clues about this mind of light in the future poetry. So poetry is something which is extremely important in this transformation, and that comes from an inspiration, and Sri Aurobindo has given us the gradations of that, and he has characterized specifically what is the higher mind like, and it relates to thought, higher thought. And what is the illumined mind? It gives you a bright lights and colors. And then intuition is like a sudden spot, a focus on something. And then the overmind, which is the linking. Now the point is, when you speak of the overman or the mind of light, that is the physical mind catching the light, Sri Aurobindo has spoken again and again, talking of on poetry, that there are plenty of things from the supermind which percolates, which drips down to the overmind. So many of the supermind principles are already there in the overmind. Overmind is not delinked from the supermind. Of course, it does not have that supreme vision. And even in the supermind stage, you must have noted that when Sri Aurobindo speaks in his great little book, he uses a very interesting phrase, the highest supermind. So even the supermind has gradations till it reaches the Satchidananda. So many of these because the supermind cannot be expressed in terms of human language. So human language can express it in poetry through the overmind. The Gita was consistently written from the overmind. But also it means when you are a poet, you can catch the overmind from time to time and you can express it, but you cannot leave it out throughout your life. By Overman, Sri Aurobindo and the mother are meaning people who will constantly live in the overmind, will constantly be the overman, not just in the lines which they write. They will leave out these lines. Like there is a song by Tagore on the night sky and the stars. And in the middle part, the entire song is mantric. The entire song, as Setna has clarified to me, I can sense during our long talks with K.D. Setna that I can I can characterize what it is and what it is like. So in vernaculars, in the regional languages, we have this in the Sufi poets, in Shakil Badayani, you have this. पिचकारियों में रंग भरा प्यार है, उस रंग में जीवन रंग लो. So there is as he writes to Setna, there is an unusual and unexpected arrangement of words, an inspired selection. These are some supplements he used to characterize mantra. He couldn't characterize mantra in the future poetry. So this has to be kept in mind, that you are not just uttering the mantras or overmind poetry or poetry from very high intuition. That is also mantra. But you are living out the stuff in your life permanently. That is the intermediary race. The other thing is, we in Pondicherry or in Auroville, of course we are very fond, we are attached to Auroville and Pondicherry. We tend to believe or we imagine that the Overman will be seen only in Pondicherry and Auroville. No. It can be anywhere in the world, because Sri Aurobindo and the mother were speaking of the world. The Overman appearing in the world, not in Pondicherry and Auroville. Well, they might come here, they might not. And like when the descent came in 1956, Setna was outside the ashram, he felt it, he saw the light. So this is the point we have to remember, that when we take up Savitri, we have to be extremely careful and we have to read it with reference to his theory, and the theory is incomplete in the future poetry. You have to supplement it with the letters on Setna, and then you have to see that this intermediary race, sparks of which have come out in poetry, that will be made permanent in the lives of these people. This is all about this Overman, and the link, because I have specifically pointed out, I repeat once again that there are two mistakes, two major mistakes. One school, the young students, they believe that, well, we can do future poetry and the letters, and we can write on Sri Aurobindo's poetry with quoting here and there from Savitri a few lines. We can do that. You can't do that. You have to read the Life Divine and Essays on the Gita. So only when we read Essays on the Gita and the Life Divine, I specifically mean to these books, these two books. When I speak of human unity and the self-determination, we go to war and self-determination and the ideal of human unity. And Sanatana Dharma is also a totally different concept. It is not which any political party preaches. Sri Aurobindo's clarification is totally different. He says, anyone who feels that the God is seated inside my soul, he is practicing Sanatana Dharma. And the problem with Aurobindo Ghosh and Sri Aurobindo is this. There was no major problem, although yoga totally changed his language. The change is in the language. There was a drastic change in the language from 1909. You leave 1909, there's a gap. From 1914, you can once again see Sri Aurobindo's major writings. Between these 4 or 5 years, there is a drastic change of language. So if you come to his concept of nationalism even nationalism was perfectly envisioned by Sri as Aurobindo Ghosh, but he could not articulate properly. The language came to him later. That is why he often said, no, don't refer to Kolkata writings. Quite often he said, because the language was not. Language means a lot. And in the future poetry, there is only one reference to the overmind. Can you believe it? It is the source of the mantra. So you have to take the whole of his, and I also don't exclude the human cycle, because that is the social evolution of society. That is a miraculous, marvelous book, The Human Cycle. And I think I'm trying to push it everywhere. And how he has left behind Marx and other sociologists in search of something new, something better, and the perfect correlation between individual and society, which is now the crux of the problem in Orwell. The perfect assortment or fusion or harmony between the individual and society. Both have to sacrifice a bit. And you can't ignore anybody. You can't give an extra stress on the individual. Neither you can ignore the individual. As Bertrand Russell, he put an extreme stress on the individual. So Sri Aurobindo goes far ahead of them, both Russell and Marx, and he said, no, the individual and the society will be perfectly harmonized and both of them will be free. And that is to be seen. It is not yet materialized. We can just think of these things. And things are moving in the right direction. More and more people from the West are coming, and even they are more receptive. Like I heard, he told Tagore, when Tagore asked him, I'm going to Europe, people are listening to me, why don't you come out and go to Europe? Then I heard Sri Aurobindo answered softly, Europe will come to me if she needs it. So that's all for today. I'm not well. I'm very sorry, because Don Solomon is such a great scholar, and Vlad is such a great friend and such a great scholar. Both are, I respect both of them, and it would have been a great pleasure to share the dais with them. But it is just my bad luck, I'm not keeping well. Otherwise, it is a great temptation to speak alongside Vlad and Don Solomon. They are great scholars. I'm sorry, but whatever I know a little, I have spoken to you. Thank you.